Welcome to She Can and She Will. My name is Marianne Brown, also known as the Country Mompreneur. I'm joined by my co-host, Disa McAllister. We are moms, work-from-home experts, and queens at helping women take control of their lives. On this show, you will learn from us as well as other women who kick butt in their lives and want to help you do the same. So sit back and get ready for some fun. Welcome to She Can and She Will. I'm being joined today by Tina Brandau, the founder and a chief empowerment officer. Thank you for joining me today, Tina.
I'm so happy to be here. I just love chatting with people about what's possible for them.
That's awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are.
How I got to where I am is a very interesting story. In fact, that's why I wrote a book about it. It is the story of having had goals, achieved goals, and then having them all just kind of disappear on you overnight with something happening to you and then finding your way back. So kind of who I am is I spent 30 years of my life as an executive in corporate America doing all kinds of things that got interrupted by a major transition in life. And I now am somebody completely different than I was before that transition. So it's all about empowerment to me now.
So tell me about your book and all about what's it about?
So my book is called Standing Strong, and I'll tell you why later because it usually brings tears to people's eyes. So I don't want them to cry right away when you're listening to this. But my book is about my story. It's about how one day I was on top of the world, having everything going on perfectly as I had wanted it. And I know that's what we dream of. And then comes the moment when that unthinkable, unimaginable thing happens. And I had a truly unimaginable accident. And I won't give away the what, because in the book, it's such a shock to people. They're like, I'm so glad I didn't know what happened to you in this injury, but I guarantee you it's one that most people have never heard of. But it left me with the functioning of a very young child. Wow. So what that meant was I was 40 years old in an adult body, living the world like a functioning child. So I got amazing insights. Now, my background is I had studied human and organizational behavior at depth and length. And that's what I did. I developed companies. That's what I did. And all of a sudden I found myself observing and learning and watching. And I became an experiment is what I say. It became such a cool experience and experiment. I would definitely forego the pain, but I would not forego the lessons. And that's why I wrote this book, because the first half is the story. And again, I don't want to give away the how because people are like, oh, well, she went through that. And then the second half is the lessons that I learned and the things that I saw and how I went from this part of the chasm, the very far end, to the other side of the chasm. And how you can too when you're facing change, adversity, setbacks, or even opportunities, how you can cross that chasm easily. And my passion truly is helping women live out their potential, because here's what I learned in this process. The biggest challenge we all face is to become all that we have the possibility of becoming. That's our biggest challenge. And that's what I live for now, is to help people tackle that challenge. And the book walks you through that. The lessons are so cool. Oh my gosh.
I love it. And it seems like almost all of us at some point, we think we're here and suddenly something happens and it brings us all the way down and we have to start back over again. And I like that you help people when they get to that point to move up.
It's not just for those that have had everything together and it falls apart. It's also, I'm going to be candid, we've all lived through change and setbacks and challenges in these last 2 years. We've all lived through it. So how do you get through it? How do you move through? And how do you come out, frankly, on top? How do you win at this game? And I'm quite a competitive person. You just heard me say win at the game. I am all about helping people win at this game. And, I think one of the things that came out loud and clear, and I say this multiple times in the book, I'm actually going to quote a lot from the book. I hope you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
I say all the time in the book, over and over and over, adults are so weird. We are so weird. We do the weirdest things. No, you have to remember. So I'm going to give you one quick example just to kind of illustrate this for you. I was functioning like a 3-year-old, and the doctor said that I would probably never get much better. Actually, they said I would not get much better.
Wow.
But I was functioning like a 3-year-old, and I had to relearn everything in life. And one of the things that we do is we really send mixed messages about a lot of things, and we use language very weirdly. Okay. I one day was having a conversation with a person. I was at this time functioning about a 6-year-old. I actually made it to 7, and they said, congratulations, you're as good as you're ever going to get. But I was functioning about a 6-year-old at this time. And I'm talking to her, and she's just talking away, and we're having what I consider to be a great conversation. And then something inside me just got really infuriated. And at that time, I was like a younger child. I couldn't express my emotions well. So I said the only thing I knew how to say at that time. I said, "You're mean." And she goes, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Did I say something to hurt your feelings?" And I said, "No." And again, I'm not communicating real well.
Yeah.
And she goes, "I'm so sorry if I said something mean." And I said, "You did." Okay. Truly was not the best of my state. Okay.
I have to say, I do miss being able to just throw down on the floor and have a temper tantrum when I want to, because sometimes I want to.
There's nothing stopping you from doing that today. I'm just saying, okay?
Well, I mean, if I threw myself down on the grocery store floor because they didn't have the ice cream I wanted, that might be frowned upon. But
who cares?
Sometimes I really want to.
Let them frown. Who cares? The people at the grocery store, A, have no idea who you are, most likely. And B, why does it matter? Just be you. Oh my gosh. I don't throw myself down in the grocery store, but I can see you wanting to do that. I don't throw myself down in the grocery store because it's hard to get up.
Yes, that's true.
Anyways, when I was going through this conversation with her, I kept saying, you're mean. And she said, "Are you mean? Am I mean to you?" And I said, "No." And she said, "What is it then?" And I said, "You're mean to you." And she just paused, and we went on back and forth for a while. She had no idea at all the words she was saying about herself.
Oh, I get it.
And so it really was eye-opening to me how many people were doing things they had no idea they were doing. So that became my new job. My new job was to have conversations with people about why they were doing this, why they were saying that, because I didn't do that. Right. I didn't feel that way. The people around me and all the therapies I was doing from having all these cognitive problems and everything else that happened after the accident, none of them were doing this, but yet adults were doing it all over the place. So why was that? And I spent so much time sorting it out. And I told you I'd studied organizational human behavior. I knew about human behavior. I just did not see it because we're looking at it as adults. Mm-hmm. We're looking at it in our state, and it is so obvious and so clear, and we are so complex. Children are simple.
That's true.
I became simple again because, frankly, simple is all I could do. And now I wake up every single day and say, how can I make this simple today? And I will tell you that my accident happened 15 years ago. I do not function like a 7-year-old. In fact, it was funny. I got to tell this story. I was told I reached MMI, which I had no idea what it was. In fact, I said, I know what M&Ms are, but I don't know what MMI is. What is MMI is maximum medical improvement, which means I'm as good as I'm ever going to get. And I bet you can't tell, but I was a bit of a sassy 7-year-old. Okay. And so the sassy 7-year-old Tina said, I had heard my husband say over and over when the doctors would tell them that I wasn't going to get better, he would say things like, "You don't know my wife. You don't know my wife. You don't know my wife." So I became the sassy 7-year-old. I said, you don't know me. Just watch me. And I got to work doing all the things that I needed to do to get back to where it was. I did go back to being an executive. I made my way back to being an executive. They never thought I would actually work. In fact, some people told me to my face that I would never be more than a Walmart greeter. And this is not a detriment. I'm not being slanderous to a Walmart greeter, but they didn't think I had the capacity to do anything more than say hello to people. That's what they thought my capacity was. I didn't stop there. I wouldn't stop there. I made it back to being an executive. Truth be told, and please don't tell the company that I worked for a long time. I didn't want to go back to doing that, but I had to prove to myself I could. How many times do we have to prove something to ourselves? And once I proved it to myself, I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't like this anymore. This isn't what I want to do. So I stopped. And then I went on and I wrote my story because I believe that first of all, I was encouraged by many people to write my story and share it because it was inspiring to them to do something different in their life. And I believe that sometimes we just need to see somebody who's done it before we believe we can. And that's why I wrote this book.
So how do you get through your day? Between work, your family, and all the in-betweens, who has the time to connect with others who face your similar struggles? Join us at our monthly Women Helping Women virtual networking sessions to make connections with other women who face your same struggles. Make new contacts, whether you are looking for business connections, accountability partners, or to build relationships. If you've never joined a virtual networking session, it's very laid back and we try to make it fun for all who attend. We ask you share your name, what you do for a living, and what you're looking to get out of the session. We encourage people with like interests to share their contact info to connect once the session is over. This is a great opportunity to build bonds with new people who you never would have met in your day-to-day life. So whether you're looking to make professional connections or looking to find some new friends, sign up for our next session. Find more information at thecountrymompreneur.com. I feel like we would be best friends. I feel like whenever someone tells me I can't do something, anything, I'm like, yes, I can. Just watch. And I set myself up, even if I find that I really, really can. It's something really, really, I will watch YouTube videos and do whatever I can to figure out how to do that. Cause I'm like, I can. Yes, I can. So
well, I think we also have to consider whether we want to or not. And that's something else. When someone tells you you can't do something, sometimes it's okay to say, you're right. And I don't want to. So thank you.
Yeah, that's true too.
I don't want to learn how to do brain surgery. I am not good with gore. I don't like surgery. So yeah. I'm pretty okay that I'm not a brain surgeon. Thank you so much. Love ya.
That's true. That's true. So now I'm sure this is all laid out in your book, but when you're facing change, what are some of the first steps?
The first step. Okay. So I believe anytime you're facing a change, one of two things happens. And I've seen this play out in my corporate career, leading huge teams and developing huge organizations to the point of helping myself heal. It plays out over and over and over in all of them. And that you have one or two things happen to you. You're either disrupted in your life or you're destructed in your life. One of those two D's happen immediately to you. I say you start getting a D in life all of a sudden. So if you're disrupted, it's a much quicker process. But if you're destructed, like I was physically destructed by my accident. Here's the other thing. The sooner we realize we have zero control, we can control our actions and our thoughts, but we don't control the actual initial thing that happened, and you can't undo it. So all the wishing and wanting in the world is not going to undo it. And sometimes that change is really great, but maybe you're losing your identity in the process. Either way, it's a disruption or a destruction. If it's a destruction, the first thing you have to do is know you don't control it. You can't erase it. And then you have to do this thing that most people are horrible at. And that's be patient.
Oh, yeah.
You have to give yourself permission to be patient. And I don't know about you, but I think you're a type A person by just your description about the whole I can't thing. I'm not a type A person. I'm a type A plus. When you have to be patient, that can be the hardest thing in the world to have happen. If your world is disrupted, you don't have to wait as long, and sometimes you don't have to wait at all. You don't have to go through a process of healing or other things. You then have to do the other thing that's super hard for people. And that is to know where you want to go. I can tell you that I have sat in rooms with hundreds and hundreds of people, and I've asked this question: where do you want to go? And almost universally, the room's responses are, I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this. Great. We are phenomenal at saying what we don't want. I don't know about you, but I remember growing up on Fridays, we would get to go out to dinner. And my mom was just done with us by the end of the week on Friday. So we would go out to dinner and we would get in the car and we would sit in the car and people would say, where do you want to go? And everyone would say everywhere they didn't want to go. Mm-hmm. We are so good at saying what we don't want. Most of us are terrified of saying what we really do want. So if you can say what you want and point to where you want to go and get clear on that, that's the first step to reaching anything in the world you want. If you don't really want something and you're not crystal clear about wanting it, you're never going to get it. So the first thing you have to do is get clear about what you want. In this change, you want this promotion. Is it that you want to have this promotion with a work-life harmony or I hate the word work-life balance. I will do that in a whole other podcast. It's a whole thing I want to do in another podcast with you. But if it's work-life balance you're looking for, you have to know that going in and you have to strive for that. If you really want to be a C-suite executive, you know that. If you want to start a podcast that reaches 5 million people, you have to be crystal clear about what you do want. Not that I don't want the job I have today, or I don't want to be as small as I am today. Those are not concrete destinations. Knowing your concrete destinations, number one. Number two, because stuff happens, you have to know who you really are. You have to know your values, because if you don't know your values, you're not going to make decisions well. When stuff hits the fan, and it's going to, you gotta know your values so that you can make the right decision for yourself. And then there is one more thing that you have to do. Actually, I have 6 lessons in the book. So these are the first 3. Actually identifying, and I talk about all the reasons why we don't identify our true vision and where we want to go. There's a whole section on there. And I will tell you that most women fall into that section. It's all about the imposter inside of us.
So what does that mean?
So I hate the term imposter syndrome because I don't believe it's actually imposter syndrome, but I use that because that's the nomenclature everybody understands, right, or the verbiage everyone knows. What does that mean? It means that sometimes you wonder if you really got somewhere by luck and you're not good enough to do what you're really doing. Women are horrible. I actually wrote a whole chapter on the word enough. We are so enoughs, and enoughs have a very close relatives. And I didn't know what to call it when I was injured, and I was watching people do it and say it. So I called it what I saw it. So I called it enough. I called it can't. I called it should. I called it, what was the other one? Oh, winning. I'm going to do something when I do this. I'm going to be happy when I do that. And I called it winning because I thought that people really were winning their life. So I write about all that in there. But the first 3 lessons as an imposter, you can't do lesson 1 because you're not going to believe that you can do that thing that you want to do. And most times when you grab that pen, and I actually encourage people to write where they want to go with pen and paper, because the connection between your hand and your brain is so amazing. I know a little bit about the brain now. I've had to learn a whole lot about the brain now. I'm not going to give away more than that, but my injury did involve my brain. Obviously, I said I couldn't think and process. So my injury involved my brain. So I had to learn a lot about the brain in this process. So writing it down, you're going to grab that pen and you're going to immediately, many people will, not everybody, will immediately think, who am I to do this? Who am I to do this? And you're not going to be able to move that pen. In that section, I talk about how to get over the imposter syndrome as well. And the very first thing is remembering where you came from. And when you hit a challenge, that's another thing we have to do, because we immediately go, I cannot handle this. This is too big. Some of us go, I can handle this, but I have no idea how. You do know how. Every one of us knows how. We know how to handle change, and I'll tell you how I know that. You would not be able to walk today if you didn't know how to handle change. When you were a young child, you learned to stand. You learned to take your first steps. You learned to change, and you did it without hesitation. You did it without stopping. You did it without judgment. You did it without all the labels. If you didn't, you wouldn't be walking today. All we have to do is remember that we can handle change and that we're heaping on top of that change all kinds of things that don't go with it. If you just stay focused on only that change, you will go places.
You sound like you're very inspired. Do you do public speaking? Do you go and do public speaking events now, or is it just your book that you have?
So I have my book, and I've actually just started public speaking. I am going to be in Arizona next week on stage. I've done, probably 5 live stages at this point. So I'm just starting to, but this is who I am all the time. People hang out with me just because they want to stay inspired. Because you know what? Yes. People will say, I think I might do this. No, you won't might do this. You'll definitely do it. Let's go. Let's go.
I know some people that would definitely benefit from hearing your story and hearing your way of being able to look ahead in that manner, people that, like, I'm always trying to help women who want to become work from home moms, say that they're a mom and they would like to start making an income.
Okay.
So if I try to help them move ahead and they find everything about it too hard or too something, and they really want to, but they can't. And so I just feel like they need someone to come in and give them a little bit of inspiration, because I can only, like, my ability to show someone how to do something, you have to want it too.
You do have to want it. And so this is the other side of the coin. I told you I did development for organizations for a very long time. To be able to be successful at anything, you have to have 3 elements. You have to get it, meaning you have to understand it. You have to want it, and you have to have the capacity to do it. You cannot put a want in someone. You can remove a fear from somebody. And the only way they remove a fear is by doing that thing that scares them. And the longer you wait, the bigger the fear. So here's what I tell people all the time. When you say, I just don't think I can, you may be right if that's what you're choosing to believe. So choose to believe otherwise, and then literally count 1, 2, 3, go, and do it. And don't think about it, because the longer you think about it, the less you'll do it. And not everything is for everyone. If you are a stay-at-home mom and want to start a business, you're going to have to learn to market yourself. You're going to have to put yourself out there. And not everyone wants to do that. But that doesn't mean you can't be a stay-at-home mom and work for someone else in another job. There's always a pathway. There's always a pathway to what we want. It's a matter of what you want to do to get there. And you just have to get, again, going back to that very first thing, get really clear about what you want. Now, I want to tag something onto that though, because in my state, so I have set goals for organizations. I've set goals for teams. I've set goals for all kinds of things throughout my life. I am what they used to call me, the goal master. I love goals. But when I got to a place when I was injured that I needed to future vision or future cast where I was going, it was too big. To think about me going back to work as an executive again was so big when I was trying to figure out how to get keys on a spoon and eat them, okay? It was so big. I couldn't walk on my own. I needed 24-hour care. To think I was going to be an executive was just so big that my brain shut down thinking about it. So what I had to do was really break that big vision down into micro visions. And my first vision became standing on my own. I was going to stand. on my own. I did physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. I think they made up therapies, new therapies, just for me to go to therapy because I was in therapy. One day, I kept telling people no when they would try to hold me. And inevitably, I would wobble and they'd have to grab me. Okay? Inevitably. This one particular day, my husband grabbed me and I held up my finger because, I'm a little bit independent. Try being completely an independent person and becoming completely dependent. It's quite the ride. I don't want anyone to ever have to do that. But I held up my finger to him and I said, just a minute. I didn't say the words because I couldn't, but I held up my finger and he knew what I meant. And he let me stand for a second. And then I started to wobble and I flung my finger up as quickly as I could because I knew he was going to grab me and I just wanted to stand. My vision was to stand by myself. And he paused, he let me do it. And then I said the only 3 words that I could get together and out of my mouth at that time. And I said, I stand strong.
Oh,
that's why I named my book Standing Strong. That vision was a tiny vision, but I accomplished it. And the minute I accomplished that, my brain was okay looking at that next vision. So if you can't visualize yourself being a 7-figure business owner today, if you can't do that, if that's too big, it's okay to not be able to do that. Break it down and do it small. Some people will tell you, no, that's just a goal, or no, that's just a task. No, that's just where you are right now, and that's okay. You can go bigger and go bigger and go bigger. But if you're shutting your brain down, you're going nowhere. So go as big as you can. And then a little bit bigger. Because when you go as big as you can, I guarantee you it's a little bit bigger than that. Because we all hold some in reserve because no one likes to fail.
Right.
So go as big as you can and stretch it a little bit further. And you'll do amazing with it. And if it's not what you want, I tell people all the time, quit quickly and find something you do want, because there's no point in wasting a moment of life. I'm not supposed to be alive today. In fact, I survived something that was considered unsurvivable. There is no minutes, no seconds to waste. If you don't like something, change it.
I like that. I like that a lot. I know a lot of people that are stuck in jobs that they do not enjoy and find the joy.
We know that our brain loves comfort. We know that. I know that all too well. You know what was really cool? I got to tell you this other story real quickly. You know what was really cool in my accident? Because I got to see that I have a brain. I actually got to see my brain. So they did so much imaging on me. I was like, my siblings were wrong. I really do have a brain. It was perfect. I got to see my brain. It was so cool.
So if people want to reach out to you, find out about your book, anything like that, work with you even, do you work with people in groups or one-on-one or anything?
I do work with people. I do work, I'm actually launching a group in about 3 months, a different group. So one of the things that I'm super passionate about is brain health, because I know what it feels like when your brain doesn't work well. So one of the things that I am launching actually next month is another community. So I believe that the best thing you can do for yourself is take care of your brain, because it does not matter your wealth. It does not matter what else you have in life. If your brain doesn't work, nothing else works. So I believe in taking care of your brain. And one of the ways you do that, I'm just going to give a quick little plug here. One of the ways you do that is you sleep. So those of you who are trying to be heroic and live on 4 hours of sleep, your 60-year-old self is going to hate you. So please stop doing that for whatever reason or purpose you're doing it. No job, no career, no amount of money is worth your life being destroyed when you are in your 50s and 60s. It's just not worth it. How can I tell you that? Because I've been there when your brain's destroyed. It's not worth it. Okay, I'm done with it. Infomercial. What I actually encourage people to do to keep your brain sharp is read. So I'm actually starting a Leaders Are Readers community. Oh. I said it right. I did say it right. Sometimes I mix those words backwards. Leaders Are Readers community, where we'll get together and study the business masters and read those books, because then A, you grow as a person, and B, your brain gets sharper. I just love that idea. So I'm going to do that with another group of people. I'm doing it with one group, but I'm going to start another new one as well. And so if you want to find me and everything all about me, my website is the place to go. It is successcoachingsolutions.com. You'll find my story. You'll find all the things that I do. You'll find groups. You'll find whatever it is you're looking for. And if you don't find it, it will tell you how to get a hold of me directly. And then we can chat about whatever it is you're looking for.
Awesome. Well, Tina, thank you so much for joining me today.
I am so honored to be here. And again, I believe the biggest challenge we all face is to become what's possible in our lives. So my wish for everyone listening right now is that you become unstoppable at becoming what's possible.
Thank you for listening. For more information, join us at thepmagency.com.